a good contingent that's logged in. Yeah, it looks like we have 60 participants logged in, and we'll probably have some more filter in as the morning goes along. But good morning, everybody. Welcome to our employee town hall meeting, and glad everybody is here. We've got a very action-packed agenda. We're going to lead things off with an announcement of our Employee of the Year nominees and our Employee of the Year. And so that's a great way to kick things off. I will ask Danny Schlitt after that presentation to talk about the upcoming event that is scheduled for April 11th for all employees, a get-together where we'll do some bowling together on April 11th. So Danny will give us the details on that. I'll give a presentation of the budget that we presented to the City Council last night. And I'd also like to take some time to share with all the employees the Council's recently adopted strategic priorities, which helps clarify and focus some of our work on new initiatives on the city, across the city. And then after that, we'll have an update from the Social Equity Action Team on internal communication recommendations, on improvements that we can make on internal communications. And that's one of the things that was identified in the employee survey. And we want to look at ways that we can improve internal communication. And then we'll wrap up our town hall with a broader update on activities associated with gathering more information about the employee survey results, and then putting together a good set of initiatives that we can take to address concerns that were raised and things that we learned from the recent employee survey. So that's our agenda for this morning. And as always, these town halls are intended to be interactive. So if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, if you have any just points of discussion or comments to make, please raise your hand or speak up over the course of this town hall meeting. Jenny is going to be our facilitator for this town hall meeting. Jenny, why don't you turn on your camera and say hello and just tell people how they can get in contact to participate in this meeting.
Sure. So people can either post their question in the chat, or they can send an email to at town hall meeting, all strung together, or they can also email Maggie or myself, and we're both in the address book. So those are all the ways.
All right. Well, thank you, Jenny. Let me just check. Can everybody hear me okay on this transmission? Okay. Great. So first up on the agenda is the Employee of the Year. So Steve, let me turn it over to you for this announcement.
Great, fantastic. Thank you very much. I'll tell you, this was a process that was very difficult. We actually had 9 different nominees, and I think Jenny was going to try to put up the poster, and we had Anthony Dudley, Charlie Hamilton, Dilraj Sidhu, Herb Holmes, Kathy Crandall, Kayleen Mark, Liam Andrews, Mike Stady, and Rachel Kendall. And on March 6th, the Employee Review Board committee, they met, and they came up with a decision. And the Employee of the Year, I am happy to say, is Rachel Kendall. And Rachel did a fantastic job this past year, as she does every year. And you can see a little bit about her nomination and what all went into that. So congratulations, Rachel, but more importantly, congratulations to all the nominees for all the work that they did. And then also, very important, congratulations to the individuals that nominated, recognizing the hard work of this workforce. So congratulations, Rachel, and congratulations to everybody.
Well, thank you, Steve. And we had the privilege of going to the Aurora House last Friday to meet with Rachel in person and share this award with her and the whole team. Tanisha was there, and Amy was there, Sol was there, and Rachel very graciously noted what this really is a recognition of the entire team at the Aurora House and all the really amazing work that they do there to help our young women in the community with getting on a good track for their lives. And it's just miraculous work that we do at the Aurora House. And we're just so proud of the whole team. So Rachel, congratulations. Steve, we will invite Rachel we'll have a reception and recognition with the City Council, and that'll be on April 29th.
29th.
And we'll also have a reception that all employees can participate in on the 29th as well. Is that right?
That's correct. Looking forward
Excellent.
to that.
Okay. Well, congratulations, Rachel, and congratulations to all of our nominees. Well, as I mentioned, we've added to the agenda, wasn't on the published agenda, but Danny's has been sharing with us through the Fun Bunch emails about an employee event that's coming up. Danny, why don't you give us the news?
All right. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Excellent. So I hope this is not the first time anybody's seeing this flyer or hearing about this event. So our goal is to get everybody that would like to participate to the bowling alley on Thursday, April 11. It starts at 1:30. Show up at 1:15. Get your shoes, get your bowling ball picked out. Make sure you're ready to go. We'll put you on a lane and we can bowl until 3 p.m. Enjoy some fun and some time with some of your coworkers for whatever reason you want. It's been a long budget season, a long winter, whatever you choose. Come on out and enjoy an afternoon. Every office in the city is working on their closing procedures to allow everybody that would like to attend and enjoy this event. So looking forward to that. Again, not a lot of logistics. Show up at the bowling alley at 1:15 on Thursday, April 11. That's a week from this coming Thursday, and we'll have some fun and do some bowling. I don't know if there's any questions in regard to that, but that's the plan.
So Danny, not a question on the bowling event. There is a question, is there a tentative date for the employee picnic?
Yes, so that's a great question. Due to a couple of different reasons, the Fun Bunch has talked about not trying to cram the picnic into a small window that we had this year, and we're going to move it to the fall, and we don't have a specific date yet. We've been talking a lot about trying to maybe look at September, October timeframe and plan something at that point. There's a few positive reasons for that. One of them is the account that the money comes out of gets reinfused with the new fiscal year. There'll be a few more dollars to be able to put together a much nicer picnic. And the big date that kind of we felt fit, just ended up not working out for a bunch of schedules. So for that reason, the picnic is not going to be in June. We are going to do it. We will do it in the fall. And just as a little extra this morning, there is going to be a meeting set up very soon with those organizations that kind of plan employee events. And so the meeting will help better organize all of these events. And we'll put a calendar out at the beginning of the year saying, here's some of the employee events that are coming up this year. And it'll give us a full calendar for the year. The EAC does an awful lot for all of us employees. Human Resources, the Fun Bunch. And now we've got a group out there, the SEAT program, certainly interested in making sure that we can pull some of these things off. So we're going to put together a full calendar of events, and people should know up front it won't be a surprise anymore.
Well, Danny, thank you for arranging all this. Really appreciate the fun bunch, all the creativity, and looking out for nice ways for us just to get together, to network, get to know each other outside of the normal day-to-day, also to meet people that you don't work with every day in the organization. As we'll note in the budget here in just a moment, we are a growing organization. We have 250 employees in the general fund, and then when you include our utility funds, 270 employees in the city organization. So a lot of new faces as well. So it's a great opportunity for people to get out of the normal day-to-day and meet our colleagues. And Brendan's got his hand up.
Sorry about that.
Oh, was that? But Brendan,
was-
you're
that
on the
was a-
spot now. You've got to ask a question, even if you don't have one.
Congratulations to all of the nominees, and especially the winner, Rachel. You well deserved. That's all I have to say. Back to Wyatt.
Well, that is well said. Transition now to presentation of the budget and the council's strategic priorities, and I hope people will bear with me. I'm going to speak. The presentation last night, I think we clocked it at about 20 minutes, and then we'll have the council priorities after that. So look forward to discussing all of this with you. And let me start from the beginning in terms of shared screen. So our theme for the FY 2025 budget is strengthening our foundations for a growing community. And this theme came out of some workouts that we did with our department directors, just thinking about kind of where we are as a city and what we most need to focus on. And strengthening our foundations, if you was the theme, and we'll talk about that as we go through this presentation. We also wanted to capture the dynamism and all of the construction activity and new development that's happening in the city. But rather than focusing on buildings and projects, we wanted to focus on the people, because that is what it's all about. And I think these pictures capture the dynamism of our community very nicely. So I want to thank Maggie for putting the cover together. As we go into this budget, I also want to just single out our finance team, Kieran and Melissa, with all of the amazing work they do to put together the budget. And I also will note that between Melissa, Kieran, Cindy, and myself, we have about now almost 70 years of collective experience with the city in putting the budget together. And one thing that I think we really benefited from this year was with having Andy and Jenny deeply involved in the budget this year for the whole city. What we see, and hopefully what you'll see in this budget, is that there is a greater emphasis in making sure we have the systems and the people in place to do the work that we're laying out in our budget plans. And I think that really feeds into the strengthening our foundations. So when we talk about the new positions that are in this budget, a lot of them are geared towards sort of supporting the organization so that we together can be successful in our work. So I'll hit some of the key things, that the context for the budget. The City Council and March, we'll talk about this in more detail in just a moment, laid out, I think, a very clear and kind of high-level set of strategic priorities of where they would like to see the city evolve and grow in the future. And they identified that in 5 big areas of work: environmental sustainability, and our ongoing evolution in the transportation realm of making the city more walkable and more bikeable, safer for all users on our streets, not just automobiles. Economic development, of course, that's very much of the context that we're in right now in terms of planning for the future, all of the growth and development that's happening. Housing and accessible housing for all members of the community, people who work here, as well as people who live in the region being able to access housing in the City of Falls Church, and a strong focus on good governance and making sure that this organization has the resources, the people, the training, and the tools and the equipment that we need to be successful and serve the community. So those are all folded into strengthening in our foundations for a growing city. So what do we mean by some of the growth and dynamism? We've got a couple of documents that have come out of our planning shop that really lay this out very clearly. Presentations on our community, our annual report to the community in terms of just the status of the community that Zoe Baird has just produced, and presentations to other regional bodies, and it lays out the new construction that's happening. We have a new office building that we issued certificate of occupants for just about a month ago. A new hotel is going to be opening in a month, in addition to the renovated meeting house, which is right next to Godfrey's on West Broad Street. 2 new grocery stores will be opening in the city over the coming fiscal year, as well as 2 new theaters, and that includes the Creative Cauldron Community Theater, as well as the Paragon Theater at Founders Row. So a tremendous amount of commercial activity, along with the expanding existing businesses, which are the sort of the core of our commercial community. And in addition to that commercial activity, we have over 1,500 new housing units under construction right now. And that's a 22% growth in our housing stock, 13% growth in our projected population. So it's really important context for thinking about the challenges that are before us and the opportunities with the new revenues that come with that. In addition to that private investment, this budget reflects a great deal of public investment. We've been very successful in gathering to the city significant federal, state, and regional grants to help us with our work. And Cindy's always kind of in the lead of that, but working with all of our subject experts in the city to identify opportunities where we can bring outside money into the city. We're currently managing 41 capital projects, and so that's a tremendous number of projects, and this budget does provide additional project managers so we can be successful in that. And over the next 6 years, we've got additional 43 capital projects planned, totaling $191 million. And we'll talk about some of the highlights from the capital plan in this presentation as well. Caitlin Sobsey has been our CIP coordinator and putting all these plans together, working very closely with Andy, and took that through the Planning Commission earlier this month, and we'll be presenting that in detail to the council next Monday. So here are some of the numbers with the budget. The general government is growing 7.9% or 3.7 million. The school transfer, very similar growth and dollar amounts reflecting our revenue sharing agreements. We have additional money for affordable housing, and we're going to continue to try to grow that push in the coming years, but $500,000 for affordable housing in the coming budget. WMATA has their fiscal cliff that they've been telling the region about for many months now. And it looks like the city share is going to be over $1 million of new money for WMATA in the coming year. That's a big lift, and all the growth in the city is allowing us to meet some of those challenges. On the capital side, debt service is a significant part of our budget, but it is decreasing just through the normal amortization of our debt. The capital reserves, these represent the lease payments coming into the city from the West Falls project, and then they go back out to help reduce the debt service costs for our taxpayers. And pay-as-you-go capital, and this is an important part of the budget. We built up capital reserves to help pay for the high school, and now we're drawing those capital reserves down. So we're proposing $9.6 million of a drawdown on our capital reserves over the coming year. We currently have a balance of $22 million in capital reserves. So in terms of tax rates, we do propose a 1 penny reduction in the tax rate to a rate of $1.22. That's what the budget is built around. In our utilities, small increases relating to basically the CPI and rate of inflation, and an increase to our new connection fees for expansion of the system. This growth in assessed value, this is what our taxpayers out in the community are experiencing. A lot of growth in the commercial sector, as we've described, 11.9% increase due to new construction. Homeowners in the city are experiencing, on average, a 3.2% increase in market valuation growth. Significant increase over the past 10 years in the assessed value of the city, and that reflects all of the work we've been doing together to promote economic development in the city. So 5.8 billion in AV citywide. It's important to know what our taxpayers are experiencing. So for your average homeowner in the city, this budget would be about a $271 increase to their average tax bill. Average tax bill is $11,624 in the city, and that is a significant lift that we ask of our homeowners in the city. Our tax rate have been coming down, reflecting the growth that we've been experiencing in the city in recent years, and giving some of that back to our taxpayers. Mentioned all of the new grocery stores and new commercial activity that shows up in our local tax revenues. And I want to thank the Commissioner of Revenue, Tom Clinton, and the Treasurer, Jody Acosta, who worked with Finance, worked with Irvin and Kieran and Melissa to try to really refine our projections based on the growth that's happening. So a couple things that are noteworthy: meals tax, a very significant growth is projected in the budget, business licenses, and hotel taxes recovering from the pandemic, but also new hotels being built in the city. So now we'll shift to talking about what's in the budget in terms of expenditures, all organized around investments in people, processes, infrastructure, and strategic initiatives, all geared towards strengthening our foundations as an organization so that we can adequately and excellently serve our community in this era of growth and dynamism. So for our workforce, investment in our workforce, we're calling for a 6% increase in compensation, and that would be effective on July 1 upon completion of a satisfactory or higher annual performance evaluation. For the police, similar through the COLA and STEP program in the police. For uniformed police, that's a 6% increase as well. We're proposing an increase to the savings plan. Currently, the city matches at $20 per pay period, and we would propose to increase that to $35 per pay period. And so if you participate in that program, and we hope that you do, the annual benefit goes from about $500 per year to over $900 per year as a city match to your savings plan. We're increasing the training and professional development budget. Last year, that was $100,000, and we've been trying to fortify that line item in the budget for supervisor training, safety training, sexual harassment prevention training, so many initiatives for workforce development and career development in the city. And HR will be administering those training programs as part of the team that develops their strategic plan for workforce development. The budget has some important new initiatives in public safety. We add 6 positions in the police department, 3 new police officers, bringing our uniformed officer corps to just under 40 uniformed patrol officers, along with command staff. We'd have a sergeant. This would allow us to have a sergeant that would be dedicated primarily to managing the training requirements for the entire department. The budget increases our emergency communications technicians from our current staffing of 4 to 6, plus our 2 supervisors for our 911 call center. So we're Really hopeful that these additional staff resources will provide needed support for these important functions. Professional standards manager in the police department, this would be proposed as a civilian position and ensure that we both have up-to-date policies, but we're also following those policies day in and day out to ensure that our officers are safe and that the public is safe with all of our interactions with the police department. A couple other noteworthy improvements, improving access to services. We'll expand our library hours. So on Saturday and Sunday, we'll be open until 5 p.m. as opposed to the current open till 4 p.m. And that's, I think, one of the high priorities that came out of the library strategic plan with a lot of community input. Coming out of the East End area plan that was led by Emily Bazemore, we call for in the budget a Vietnamese community outreach contract. We would have someone on regular contractual services that will help city staff as we engage with the Eden Center and the Vietnamese community. And that'd be across departments in terms of kind of whatever the needs are, police department, commissioner of revenue, planning staff, engineering staff, anyone who's doing projects or initiatives. This could be a very helpful resource. And then updating our website. That's something we're very excited that we've had a very strong response to our recruitment notice for our communications director. And one of the things that we'll be undertaking in the coming year with our communications director is an update to the city website. A couple of notes on staffing support for internal operations. We would take a position that's currently in CPEDS and supported with building permit fees and move that to IT for a technology applications manager that will support technology projects throughout the city. It'll still be paid for in part with permit fees and helping our building safety team update the technology we use in the administration of building safety will be one of the top priorities for this position early on, but also supporting all users of Munis or EERP and other similar types of projects. In HR, we'll have an additional position. We'll grow the department by one staff member, and the focus here is to provide additional administrative support for the department so that Sherry, Megan, Latanya can focus more on what their subject matter experts are in HR and have more support on the administrative side. Contracted legal services for our city attorney, for Sally. That's a very busy shop for the organization. And the budget funds the city manager's office reorganization that we implemented last September so that we'll be able to keep that focus and executive level support and helping the organization move through these internal process improvements and also help us coordinate all of the external services, the many projects that we're delivering out in the community through the CIP and elsewhere in the budget. I've got a couple of notes on affordable housing. This is a big priority for the community and for the city council. We do increase the funding to $500,000. And we've also been successful in getting an $850,000 grant to continue our work in acquiring properties with a focus on the Virginia Village area. A couple of key things just to note for our affordable housing team is this is a team that's incredibly innovative and productive. They're just doing amazing work in the community. But we've got big things that are coming. And one is we have 99 new committed affordable units coming online in FY2025. So for Kayleen, we really want to support you and making sure that that this is a major undertaking of getting people into these new units. Some of the strategic work that Brendan will be heavily involved in with Dana is working on the affordable living policy update for the coming year. And working on our strategy to preserve the fields, and just to name it, but also we have other committed affordable units that are expiring. And so we're looking for good strategies to keep those committed units committed. And we'll then transition into thinking about the future of Virginia Village in partnership with Wesley. So just a great amount of work happening in human services. And Dana, really thank you for all of your leadership in that work. In the area of environmental sustainability, a lot of great things that are happening with our LED streetlight conversion to green fleet. We've got HVAC replacements both at the Aurora House and the Community Center. These are major projects that we're working on. Lionel Millard is really key in moving those forward, and ongoing work to study solar power installation on city facilities. So great work there. It's been great having Kurt Lawrence join the team, and he's built up our one-stop shop for the community energy plan for people to be able to find ways where they can in their car purchases or thinking about improvements to their property do so in a way to reduce their energy usage. So great having Kurt do that work across the city. A lot of work in the transportation realm. Again, so much of it really geared towards making the city more walkable and bikeable and safe for all users of our street. We have been fortifying our maintenance budget and pulling from capital reserves to increase our level of paving that we're able to do. And when we repave streets, we're able to put in new facilities like pedestrian crossings and bike lanes. It's a great case of our planners and our engineers working hand in hand and moving those community initiatives forward. One thing that we have our brick crosswalks, and they're very expensive to maintain, and we'll be taking it up as a policy issue over the coming year as to whether we'll continue to have brick crosswalks across particularly our busy streets because they're so expensive to maintain. A couple notes on the CIP. The transportation element of the CIP is the largest component, and a lot of that's funded with grants. But I also want to note the Robert Goff Operations Center. That's one of the big new things that's in the CIP, is envisioning a future for our property yard, where so much important work goes on for the city. A couple of key things for people to be aware of. We're not planning to issue any debt for a couple of years for our CIP. Most of our CIP is funded with grants and capital reserves. So that's good news for the financial sustainability of the city. We do have some debt planned for the Sanitary Sewer Enterprise Fund. We do have additional positions to help manage the CIP, and this has been some of the work that Andy's been doing with our whole DPW and planning team to make sure that our CIP is feasible, that we can execute it. And that's been, I think, really important work that they've been doing together. So a project manager in transportation. So we currently have 2 PMs. We'd be moving to 3. And facilities going from 1 project manager to 2, and utilities increasing our project manager share between stormwater and sanitary, but probably the most focus in at least the first couple of years for new PM and utilities will be on the sanitary sewer side. So those are some really important new resources that the budget provides. Some things for people to be aware of. Concession stand up at the Meridian, replacing the turf field at Meridian. Berman Park has got a lot of activity. We're going to be doing the sidewalk improvements in Berman Park this summer, and then following behind with new play equipment in Berman Park. And then the Robert Goff Operations Center, we're in conceptual planning right now, and Zach and his team have been working with Herb and all of our DPW operations staff to imagine kind of what are our core needs that we need at the property yard, and how can we configure our built environment there to best serve the employees and the tremendous work that we do out of that center. And so we look forward to engaging with the community in next steps and taking those conceptual plans, refining them, and working with the community in terms of how that development is going to interact, probably with what Mike Byer and the Byer family have planned for the Gordon Road Triangle. Traffic calming, it's a big area of work. Jenna Brummond is leading that program in a wonderful way and working so closely with the community on that. We also, as a new project in the CIP, have pedestrian bridges planned for Cavalier Trail, and new sidewalks going in along Wallace Street and Hillwood Avenue. This is a note just for people's awareness. I talked about drawing down our capital reserves. The city built up really significant capital reserves to give us good financial strength as we took on all of the City Hall project, the library project, and the high school project. And now we'll be drawing that down such that what will be left at the end of the 6-year period is really our unassigned fund balance and our building permit reserve funds, which would be part of the planned use of capital reserves over the next 6 years. So that's the presentation. Be happy to answer any questions or comments on it. You'll see that the new positions are largely geared towards helping us as an organization be successful in this period of growth and dynamism. And I likened it to a tree last night where the branches and the leaves and the flowers above the ground are what the community sees, but we need to make sure that the trunk and the roots are strong to support that growing tree, and that really fed into a great deal of a thought about our plan for the coming year. So let me just finish by a couple of notes on timing. We've got Caitlin Subsey's on deck to present the CIP on April 8th, and we'll do a deep dive on our capital, $190 million of capital investments. And then on April 15th, operating budget is going to be the focus. And so we're going to try to cover a lot of ground on April 15th on the new initiatives in the operating budget. And then last work session will be on April 29th, council markup on May 6th, and then final consideration on May 13th. So let me stop sharing my screen and open it up for suggestions, comments, questions.
So far, Wyatt, I am not seeing any questions in the chat, and I am not seeing any raised hands.
We'll pause for just a moment, see if folks have one. Usually Marshall Webster has a question. I always call him out and tease him for that, but Kieran Bawa has a question. Kieran.
Oh, no, I was just going to take the moment to tell everybody that we do have questions from council from last night, and those are going to be sent to the departments. And we plan to have a document with the responses to the budget questions from council. Many of those are going to be answered at the April 8th and April 15th presentations on different topics that we're covering, but many of those are going to be responded in writing format, and those Q&A documents would be included as part of the packet as much as possible for the council, either work session or meetings. So be on the watch out for relevant questions coming your way. That's all.
So Marshall does have a question. Thank you, Kieran. Marshall does have a question. How was council's response last night?
So Jenny, you want to answer that question? How do you think the council's response was last night?
Overall, I think it was positive. They did have quite a few questions. I should turn on my camera. And some of them I think were expected, and are just additional information that they want to sort of flesh out what the requests are in the budget. But overall, I thought it was positive. Cindy has her hand raised.
I thought so. Yeah, Cindy, what are your thoughts?
Oh, Cindy, you're muted. No, we can't hear you. Or I can't hear you.
Yeah, I can't either. Okay.
She's gonna
Cindy will
put it
type
in the chat.
Yeah. And so that's, I think that is right. That's for the month and a half that we'll be with council. We want to answer all their questions. And, we know from the town hall meetings on Thursday, we'll also have a good number of community questions and community input on this. I think it overall was generally well received. I know, I think on the first night, the council usually has to process it and sort of think about it a little bit. We've also tried to do a fair amount of telegraphing in advance so that I don't think this budget had too many surprises for the city council. And I think that's always very helpful. So Marshall asks, is there any sense of additional tax rate reductions? So there was not a whole lot of discussion about that other than in general sense about the community feedback to the city council when they go door to door and knock on doors of residents in the city being cost burdened. And so I think the council is very sensitive to that and wants to be responsive to that concern. I mentioned the over $11,000 per year in real estate taxes. And for all of us who are homeowners, we compare that to the bill that we have. It is a significant ask. And I think the council will want to be responsive to that. So we'll work with the council on that. We've presented what I believe to be a very responsible budget that does provide a reduction in the rate and a fairly modest increase in terms of the bill. And also, I think, attempts to take significant steps to respond to the growth that's happening in the city in a way that's sustainable. So that's what we believe we've presented responsibly to the council, and now we'll look forward to engaging with them and over the next couple of weeks. All right, well, not seeing any other questions, I'm gonna now transition just to, I want to brief employees on the work that the city council did to identify the council's strategic priorities over the coming 2-year term. Hold on, let me move this so I'm not looking sideways as we're going through this. Thanks everybody for bearing with me for just a moment. Having a moment of technical difficulties. I think I've overtaxed my computer here.
Just as a check-in, I want to make sure that everybody on this meeting should be seeing Wyatt's face and probably my face at this point. Is anybody? I have a report that somebody's seeing something different. Something that I had shared previously, maybe. But I just want to. Can people give me a thumbs up or a? Yeah, that they're seeing Wyatt and
Jenny, I
I.
think you're fine. Mine seemed to stick, but I've got it done.
Yeah, I
Corey
can see
has
you
her
guys.
hand up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Looks
Okay,
good.
great.
Looks good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I see you both.
Okay. Corey had her hand raised.
My bad. I was trying to put a thumbs up.
Oh, thanks, Corey. I appreciate the high five. And Deandra. Oh, she disappeared. Veronica is either high-fiving me or has a question. Okay, so I think we're good. Wyatt, did you figure out your technical difficulty?
Not yet. For some reason, I can't share my Adobe Acrobat. It's just not picking it up.
I'm sorry, everybody just saw my desk. Here, let me turn my camera off. Let me see if I can find the link to that. You want the council priorities, right?
Yeah, so if can people see this?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, it's funny. It looked weird in Teams. Okay. Well, listen, you all have put up with me talking for, 25 minutes on the budget. So I'm going to do this briefly. And I want people to be aware of what I think was some important leadership work that the city council did. And they have in the past adopted a 2-year plan that I think 2 years ago was a laundry list of about 90 new initiatives. And we really encourage the council to take sort of a step higher and think more broadly about what their strategic priorities are and communicate that to the community, to boards and commissions, and to staff in a way that would allow us then to step in and sort of fill that in on things that we think will carry out these strategies. And so it's a way of kind of empowering staff, but also having the council discipline itself a bit and not sort of putting out such granular work plans. And so they did that work. They identified 5 key priority areas, which we discussed just a moment ago in the budget presentation. And they expressed desired outcomes in the areas of environmental sustainability, where the city models leadership in creating environmental sustainability and resilience in both their natural and built environments, and then laid out 4 strategies in this area. And they did this in each of the 5 areas of change that they're working on. So strategy 1 for everyone to be aware of and aligned with is to reduce our carbon emissions in government operations and citywide by 50% in 2030. And we did develop a government energy action plan. And one of the key things we wanted to do with that plan was to empower staff to weigh in on how we would convert our fleet and how we would implement new measures in our buildings and have that really be sort of staff driven as opposed to council driven, where sometimes, when that impulse comes from either from me or from the city council, it hasn't been all the way thought through. And so having it really like from Chris and Fleet, having him think through what are responsible and sustainable ways for us to convert our fleet, as an example, is the direction we're trying to go in. So those are some as an example of the strategy. More green infrastructure and tree canopy, environmental review across city processes, which we try to do with our budget and CIP development. And Lonnie call out for sustainable and equitable solid waste management practices, such an important service that the city provides. In the area of transportation, supporting transportation alternatives in the city, which is to say transit and biking and other things other than automobiles. Prioritize safety for pedestrians and cyclists and incorporate the principles of complete streets and Vision Zero in city transportation and improvement projects. And one thing that was notable is that they did not say, hire a consultant to develop a Vision Zero plan. Rather, what they're saying is have a mindset of pedestrian safety as we do all of our transportation improvements in the city. And I think that's something that we have embraced very strongly as an organization. Economic development, some key things for people to be aware of. This ongoing work of improving our city practices and processes to be as business friendly as possible. So building permits is one area where I know the building safety team is very engaged in thinking about how we can use technology effectively and serve that team and also serve contractors in the building community really well. Working towards an attractive sense of place across the city. The parklets are a part of that. The Gordon Road Triangle area, I mentioned that in the context of the Robert Golf Operations Center. want to plan out our facility, which we've done a great job in starting that, so that as Gordon Road redevelops, there's going to be good interaction between our property and theirs. Those are a couple of the highlights there. We talked about housing in the budget presentation, and I think that the budget really does align very well with the council's key priorities and making a range of diverse, attainable, and sustainable housing options for all, including, very importantly, for workers in the city, including government employees. And Kayleen has done such a great job of bringing that information to employees during our employee town hall meetings. And the fifth big area of interest and with the council's key priorities is good governance. The city government organization is well managed, efficient, flexible, trusted, and proactive, and fosters an engaged organizational culture valuing growth and development for the benefit of employees and the community. So 3 strategies here. Implement proactive, transparent, internal and external engagement and communication that reaches people where they are. And next up on our agenda is a report from the social equity team where we'll talk about our internal communication, which is aligned with this strategy, but also thinking about how we will do that more broadly with the community. Strategy 2, be fiscally responsible and deliver results with a customer service mindset. And strategy 3, attract and develop talent within the organization by fostering excellence in all that we do. So we're really pleased that the council kind of leaned in, and I think we've been talking a lot with the city council over the past year plus about what the organization needs to be successful, and I think the council has been thinking about that, and I think is very has a very positive approach to working with staff in partnership to make sure that this organization is a place we're all proud of, and that we all are excited to come to work and do great service in the community. So I wanted folks to be aware of that work that the city council did. We'll now, in terms of next steps, we did a lot of work to try to fold these strategies into the budget. On April 15th, when we talk about our operating budget, we'll be aligning with a lot of these strategies. But we also got some more work to do to develop some plans around these strategies to help carry this work forward. I will note that this is the city council's priorities. We know that the city also has other change things that we need to get done that aren't on this list, which is fine and which is normal. But this is I think the council has done a good job in sort of clarifying the areas that are most important to the governing body, which is helpful for us all to be aware of and responsive to. Making democracy work. So that's our presentation on that, and I'll stop sharing the screen. I also want to give a call out for Maggie. I had developed a very boring looking presentation on the council priorities, and Maggie worked her magic and I think made this, very engaging document, which the council responded very, very well to. So let me stop there and see if there are any questions or comments on that. Steve. Steve had his hand up, but maybe he pulled it back down.
No, I just, I failed to mention just in regards to the Employee of the Year process that Megan did an outstanding job, as well as Dahlia and Scarlett, who, just did a great work in doing the presentation, et cetera. So thank them as well. So it was a job well done.
It was. I love seeing the spotlights on our nominees that the team did and sort of as a lead up to the Employee of the Year announcement. That was fantastic. All right. I've taken up more time than I was supposed to in but my 2 presentations. So let me turn it over to, I believe Scarlett is going to report on the Social Equity Action Team internal communication recommendations. Good morning, Scarlett.
Good morning. Thanks, Wyatt. I think Jenny may be adding, yes, there it is. It's popping up. Perfect. Thanks, Jenny. So as previously mentioned and shared, the Social Equity Action Team is working on an internal communications plan. On your screen, you'll see our updated timeline. There are 2 additional Post-its that were added because we want to make sure that we give all staff ample opportunities and time to respond and provide feedback. So on March 18th, we sent out our first draft, which actually, let me go back a step. The blue Post-it with the yellow star is where we currently are in our timeline for this internal communication plan. On March 18th, we sent out our first draft of our plan to all employees. We really appreciate those that have provided feedback thus far. We will be reviewing that at our next meeting, which is this Thursday. So if you have not provided feedback, but you would still like to, there's still time, and we would love to hear from employees of our first draft of our internal communication plan. At that meeting, as I mentioned, we'll be reviewing the first draft as well as the feedback, as well as going through the department communication plan portion of our plan, work plan. Once we've completed that, we'll send out something to all employees to review again, as well as open up a future seat meeting for all employees to attend to go through it in person, which is the green Post-it. And then once the full recommendation plan is completed, we will submit it to city leadership for review. So we just wanted to provide a quick update on our timeline of where we are and what we're working on as the seat committee. Any questions?
I am not seeing any in the chat. Scarlett, can you hear me?
Again,
Okay. And not seeing any hands raised.
and if anyone does have further feedback based on the internal communication first draft plan, please feel free to reach out to any seat member, either in
Thank you,
person or
Scarlett.
email. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Scarlett.
All right, Jenny, why don't you take it away for our next agenda item?
Yep, and I'm not sure that I can finish in 2 minutes. We are at 10:58, so want to be mindful that we did have until 11 o'clock scheduled for this meeting. So if people need to head off, it will be recorded. Maggie will be sending out a follow-up email with the recording along with any of the materials that we presented today. So I did want to follow up on the employee survey that was completed by Probalski. There were a couple of questions at that meeting. One was on benchmarking and whether or not Probalski had done any benchmarking. And then the other one was on the influence of length of tenure on the responses. So as to the first question, on the benchmarking data, so we did pose that question to Probalski, and Alice Basil replied and provided the information. She did have a caveat to benchmarking data, and I think she mentioned this in the original presentation as well, that organizations tend to be a little tight-lipped when it comes to employee survey results. So they included, and I'll share my screen, this slide has been included in an updated version of the employee presentation deck, and that will go out with the follow-up materials as well. So here is the slide. Oops, sorry. And it really wants Wyatt to be on the screen. They included City of Falls Church. Yes, obviously City of Falls Church. I meant to say City of Charlottesville. That this was a little bit far from us, but it wanted to at least offer a city that was a regional city government comparison. She did mention that unfortunately our neighbors either have not completed these surveys or do not have their results out there in the world for us to find. then included Frederick County, Maryland, a little bit north, but more in lines with the demographics of City of Falls Church. Then they also did the Federal Employee Viewpoint Survey, gives a little bit more insight into civil service positions, and then the Pew PEW Research National Survey. This is broad to just see how we compare on a national level to employers in general. I don't believe this is necessarily related to civil service. So as you can see, our numbers, I think, are fairly within what we see both on a national average and locally, and we're in some cases a little above, and in some cases a little below. So job satisfaction, somewhat or strongly agree. We're at 83%. Training preparedness, we're at 79%, which does roughly correlate to the city of Charlottesville. For the Federal Viewpoint Survey, it's higher than that. Pay and compensation. Our question, and there's two of these, the benefits and the pay and compensation, was what employees are personally satisfied with. So it wasn't an overall, I think this one was a ranking question. So people got to say what was most important or what they were most personally satisfied with. So pay and compensation and benefits. The pay compensation actually a little bit lower than City of Charlottesville and for the federal, but on a national level, it's actually the same percentage points. Supervisor treats with respect. That looks like it was roughly in line with the federal equal treatment. This was only represented in the federal, and we are lower in that. So that one is a significantly lower. Opportunities for growth and promotion, significantly higher than the national survey. Frederick County had a kind of a 5-point scale. So how that would roughly translate would need a little bit more time on my part. Then benefits is below the city of Charlottesville, but above the national average. So I'm just going to look and check at the chat and hands raised. Doesn't look like there's any questions so far. I'm going to stop sharing that screen. So once again, that will be in the follow-up email. We'll include that, and that will be on slide 66. In terms of the tenure question, the conclusion from the Probalski review, they took a look at both what was in the survey results, but then they asked for what our tenure was for all city employees, and the percentages are representative, correlated to how many people answered the survey. So the results are representative of the employee population. From Alice, she said the percentage of employees in each tenure range who took the survey is about the same amount who are employees within that tenure. We do have a large majority of our employees fall into the 0 to 10-year range. So hopefully that answered both of those questions more completely for those who asked them. I do want to follow up with an update where we are on the employee survey action plan. We are on the step where employees will be participating, in facilitated discussions. Joe and the facilitators have sent out an employee to CFC all users. The meetings will be on April 11th and April 12th, and there are 3 different times for each of those days. And the meetings will be held at the fire station at 6950 Little Falls Road. Joe, if Joe's on the call or any of the facilitators on the call who want to jump in and give a plug as well. There's Joe. Oh, Joe, you're muted.
Mute that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no really plug. We looked at the survey and the other surveys that you kind of went through, and I think one thing that was glaring to us is the treatment and equal treatment of all employees, which you could see on your last slide. So we all as a group decided that's what we want to start with, and we hope that everyone can make time to come. It's going to be really important to get feedback so that we can improve on that, so that leadership and can make decisions on what we can do to better that area for employees. So please make time to come. I think it's going to be our first time that we've done something like this. We've all, as facilitators, put a lot of work into it. Wyatt, Jenny, Steve, Andy, they're backing this whole process. So we all really want to do better. So this is the opportunity to get started. So we really do hope you guys can make time to be there and to give us some valuable input. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. So I think we've covered all of our items. We're only 6 minutes over. If anybody had any questions, I'm going to check the inbox for the email. There's nothing there. I am not seeing anything in the chat or hands raised.
All right. Well, Jenny, thank you for that briefing and that update. And I'll add just a word or two of thanks to Joe, Nikki, and Megan, our certified DEI and B facilitators, and Caitlin and Herb are, I think, soon to be certified. And so we're looking forward to that, and thank them for all of their work to become a trained facilitator. And just for the organization, as we put together thoughts about how we collectively will change and grow as an organization, the employee survey gave us good information. And so these facilitated discussions are a way for us to now talk about that a little bit together so we can flesh out a little bit more about what those results mean so that the actions that we take are grounded in the truth of this organization. And so that's what we're hoping, that you will come to join with Joe and our facilitators to have these important conversations. But it is directional. It's not just a conversation for the sake of having a conversation. It's a conversation that is to guide change and improvement as an organization. And so really excited about that work, excited about the leadership that we have in this organization of employees who've stepped up to do this important work with us. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Jenny, thanks for that briefing. And
Sure.
As promised, it was pretty action-packed town hall meeting. Hopefully this was good and useful information for everybody, and look forward to carrying forward with next steps in all of these matters. And for all of them, if you do have suggestions or ideas, please do speak up and talk with your team, and talk with me, talk with Kieran about how we can make sure that we're putting resources where they need to be in the budget process. Everybody have a great week, and look forward to seeing everybody on April 11th, both at the facilitated conversations that will be in the morning, and then the bowling event that Danny described for us later in the day on the 11th. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye.